Cheers. I'll call to order our city council meeting. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sylvia, roll call.
Mayor Clark.
Here.
Council President Harris.
Here.
Councilor Henderson.
Here.
Councilor Piper.
Here.
Councilor Robinson.
Here.
Councilor King.
Here.
Councilor Browse.
Here. Next on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Consent agenda. Approval of March 1st, 2016 City Council meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve consent?
I move consent.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. Presentation, recognition of Eagle Scout Award recipient. I have one here for Dylan, or maybe it's Dallin. I bet you it's Dallin. Sorry about that. Dallin Dahl. And he is here. Come on forward. Thank you for being here. I'm sorry, I kind of butchered your name there a little bit. Can you please tell council about your Eagle Scout project? And you have to push till it turns green. There you go.
Yeah, I did. In Tualatin, I built a small segment, or led a group of volunteers and built a small segment of a path in one of their parks. And then I also led a group of volunteers in installing a whole bunch of native plants in the area to reduce water consumption. And it was a city park, so it reduced the cost for the city for maintenance, as well as it was instructive to the citizens of the area as to how they could improve the water consumption of their own homes as well. So,
And which park was this in?
it was in the Browns Ferry Community Center Park.
And where's that located?
It's just off Nyberg Road.
Okay. Fantastic. Near the hospital. Near the hospital.
Oh, okay. Very good.
The council, did you have any other questions?
How did you come up with that project?
The city of Tualatin has a really nice interface where you can, they have a list of things that they need done that would be appropriate for Eagle projects. So you go in there and you say, this looks like something I'd like to do. And you go and discuss it with them, and they flesh it out you flesh it out with them, right? And you decide what components should be included in the Eagle project, what components should be left for a later date. So that's what I did.
Great. Note to staff.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Duly recommended already.
Excellent. That is fantastic. Well, it is a huge accomplishment to achieve Eagle Scout. And I want to, on behalf of council, recognize you and thank you for your contribution to our community and to this amazing award. So I want to give you this certificate of achievement. And a big round of applause. All right, and next we have the recognition of art students. We are very fortunate in our community to have an amazing group of art students. And so I have this awesome note to read here. The Sherwood schools and art instructors were invited to submit art in the fall. Makers 5 procured and displayed the art from the Sherwood art instructors. This 2016 student show is displaying art from Sherwood High School, Sherwood Charter School, Sherwood Home School, Blue Plume Studio, DK Bulljet Incorporated, and Mosaic Arts Loft. The jury process for the student art show was carefully considered to be just. 2 Washington County professional artists served as the jurors for this show, provided with the name and medium of the piece as well as age group. They were unaware of who created the piece or the instructional school studio it was made in. Once the ribbons were hung and the jurors exited the building, the show tags were hung with the detailed information of each artwork. So I have the ribbon winners by name and category. And so if you are here, I'm going to go by category first. So if you're here, if you could come up and stand in front of us and make a great line in your category so that mom and dad can get awesome pictures, because I know they're going to want those, because this is pretty fantastic. And then I will break in between each category. So the first category is the Crater Lake acrylic painting. And this is the first annual Sherwood Student Art Show, 1st through 5th grade category. Ashley Zwemke, you here tonight? You're fantastic. Just stand right over there, ma'am, and I'll get you your certificate. Katie Rice. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. That's Crater Lake acrylic painting. So it looks like, oh my goodness, I'm going to come down because there are a bunch of categories. Because this might be a little easier done from down here. And if I'm not on the mic, is that going to be a problem? You know, I'll grab one of these. I was going to say. To be recognized properly. Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Miss Swanke, congratulations, ma'am. In the 1st through 5th grade category, Cheated Dreams, Mixed Media, Katie Rice. And if you want to stop for mom or dad to get a little photo, I bet they'd appreciate that. In the 1st through 5th grade category, Hidden Falls Acrylic, Jocelyn Ham. In the 1st through 5th grade category, Fall Sparkle Mixed Media, Sophia Miller. Not here. Congratulations, Sophia. We will send your certificate to you. In the 6th through 8th grade category, Hawaiian Starry Night Acrylic, Nicholas Agson. One of my awesome movers. Well done. In the 6th through 8th grade category, Blue Watercolor by Jason Price.
Can I make a request for next year that we have a slideshow of the recipients? So, because I know Nick's painting by heart, but I don't know any of the others. So.
Awesome suggestion. So I actually had a question on that, just to do a little break here. Are the paintings still at our Sherwood Art Center? Okay. All right. And so everyone in
Thank you, Maggie.
our audience and on camera now, you can go to see these awesome paintings at our Sherwood Art Center until April 4th. But next time we will definitely have a great idea. For the 6th through 8th grade category, Mount Hood Acrylic by Natalie Orlick. In the 6th through 8th grade category, Bones Graphite on Paper by Maddie Kummer. In the 9th through 12th grade category, Untitled Acrylic by Kimbra Hearn. Okay, Kimbra, get your certificate. In the 9th through 12th grade category, Portrait of Emma, Pencil Drawing by Jasmine McClinsky. In the 9th through 12th grade category, Untitled Acrylic Mixed Media by Cheyenne Farr. I know the Farr, so In the 9th through 12th grade category, Untitled Acrylic by Amanda Hurd. And in our adult category, Poplar's Oil by Kim Durkee. Also in the adult category, Church on the Hill Acrylic by Gloria Schrock. Adult category, Lazy Days Acrylic by Annette Perkins. And our final adult category, Japanese Garden Acrylic by Rebecca Tournier. We are so fortunate to have so many very accomplished artists in the city of Sherwood and a beautiful art center for them to display their amazing work. Yes.
Can I ask Maggie to come up for maybe 2 minutes? And I think this is a new tradition that's going to happen on an annual basis. But can you talk about this and
Absolutely.
and how it all came together?
Sure. I didn't prepare any statements,
I
but
know, I'm catching you off guard
first
there.
I want to say thank you to this incredible group of artists in town that we have, Makers 5, who has worked really hard in partnership with the Cultural Center for the Arts to put together all of our gallery series. So this is the second student show that we've had there, and the first one that has encompassed all students or has invited all students of art in Sherwood. I love that it includes students of the public schools, but also private studios. We have some incredible art teachers in the city of Sherwood, and I love that this is able to recognize them. So special thanks to Darla Boljat and Mike Boljat, who really worked out of that Makers 5 team to make this happen. They have been wonderful. And as always, as I have found in the city of Sherwood, nothing happens without the incredible partnership of these incredible citizens in Sherwood. And I am incredibly lucky to get to work at that center. But most of all, I'm incredibly lucky to be able to partner with these wonderful citizens of this town. So just another medium of art that we get to show at the center. So great performances and music, but these visual artists are so special to me. So thank you all for recognizing it. Thank you so much, Mayor Clark. And thanks again to Makers 5 and to the students who showed up. How cool is that?
That's great.
If you had any other questions, I'm happy to tell.
Council, did you have any questions for Maggie? Just thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
Bringing this forward, and love the tradition, and we'll trick it and have the pictures up.
We'll
And
so have slides next year.
yes, we will have slides, and every year it will just keep getting bigger and
I hope
better.
so.
And I love that we included all of the categories. I think that's fantastic. So
Thank you.
thank you. Employee spotlight. Sally Robinson.
Okay. I think we as a council do a great job of recognizing various people. And for instance, the mayor has her annual Citizens of the Year award that she selects an individual. We recognize our artists in town. We recognize our Eagle Scouts. And so I thought there was something missing at our meetings that I thought would be really wonderful. And the thought came to me that many of our employees that run the city are long-term employees. They've been here a long time because it's such a wonderful place to live and work. And we as a council also let you know, the public know, what we are doing for you in our council comments. And so our city manager will tell you about an employee that's done something a little bit more than just his job, his or her job. They've gone above and beyond, and they would really I think, appreciate some recognition that we as a council believe that they're doing a great job. And we are so fortunate to have a city full of people who have a high work ethic and are proud to be an employee of the city. So with that introduction, and this will be continued once a month, I think, we'll have one employee from the city spotlighted and get just a glimpse of our wonderful staff that works for us. Thank you. Joe.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. Before I talk about the employee briefly tonight, this was an idea that Counselor Robinson brought to me a few months ago, and I want to give her some credit because a lot of the folks that I think you're going to hear once a month are folks that are kind of unsung. They do great work day in and day out, and they don't necessarily get the recognition in the community and in front of the council. So our first choice for tonight was an easy choice. He's a gentleman in Public Works, Jose Felipe Castellan, who is a resident here in Sherwood, has lived here in Sherwood since 2003. Felipe started as a seasonal in parks. A lot of our Public Works employees start their career in Public Works as seasonals, and that's how he joined us. He was hired as a full-time employee back in November 2003, mainly because of his past carpentry experience. So he came on board as a full-time employee in 2003. From parks, he went on to work in the storm and sanitary section of Public Works, and then he became our full-time facilities person after that. So we have now 4 major buildings that we function. The Arts Center was recently added to the Public Works building, this building, and the police station, and the many other facilities around town in our parks and things like that. We have one facilities person. He's it. He's the jack of all trades in terms of taking care of our buildings in a variety of ways. And he does a fantastic job. And I know the employees in the organization greatly appreciate the work that he does. So some of the things that he does as a facilities person, he performs all the maintenance duties at all city facilities, which includes inspections, repairs, painting, plumbing issues, pressure washing, sidewalks, and parking lots. He also sets up and tears down for all the different festivals and events in the city. You'll see him out tomorrow. We have a new festival happening with Clancy's. They're going to be in the old Robin Hood Theater parking lot with a tent, and there's going to be activities going on. Well, that doesn't happen magically. Felipe will be taking the lead in terms of putting that together as he does with all the city events. He sets up for all the meetings. So this room gets used for city council, planning commission, budget meetings, other types of meetings. Again, it doesn't just happen magically. Someone actually has to come in and set the rooms up. And every commission and board is a little different in terms of how they set up the rooms, and he handles all that. He handles the setup for all the kids' reading events and other library meetings and events that happen. Court on Friday has its own unique challenges in terms of being set up, so he handles that. And then other meetings as needed. He's definitely an employee that is always willing to stay late, come in on weekends, whatever the need is. He always does it. And he's a proud resident of the community, and he's a proud member of our organization. In many ways, he's the face of Public Works in working with our facilities. He couldn't be here tonight, but I just wanted to acknowledge the great work that he does, and I appreciate that the council is spending a little bit of time learning more about individual employees that sometimes you just don't see because they're doing work behind the scenes. But he's a valuable member of our organization. And again, I thank you, Councilor Robinson, for bringing this idea to fruition. So with that.
Well, I think that even though he's not here, there's no reason why we can't give him a nice big round of applause. So thank you, Felipe, for all of your hard work for the city of Sherwood. We all very much appreciate you and the work you've done. Our next item is Washington County Communication System Bond Measure. Jeff Grove.
Thank you, Mayor.
And it's okay. You can leave. It's all right. It's okay.
Not going to take it personally.
No. Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it.
So I just want to briefly introduce our special guests tonight. We have representing some of them that actually represent the Washington County's Speakers Bureau that was formed to present factual information on this ballot measure that's coming up in May. And then we have a couple other folks from our Washington County Consolidated Communications Agency that are here to assist with any specific technology or technical questions. So with that, I will start with our own Captain Mark Daniel. We also have Chief Derek Weiss from Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue, and then our WACA folks include Ron Policoni and Kelly Dutra. And Ron is one of our, I'm not going to try to describe it, but he's a technical genius guy. And Kelly is the director of our communications agency there. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the council. Mayor Clark, nice to see you again off the basketball court.
We run into each other in basketball.
My name is Derek Weiss. I'm with Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue Division Chief, and we are here tonight to present to you information regarding Measure 34-243. And I'd like to give you a little background on what that is. When a person calls 911, they expect fast service. And an integral part of that fast service, of course, is a robust communication network that can withstand natural disasters and hundreds of users. As first responders, we rely on that system as a critical lifeline to our ability to become aware of an emergency when somebody calls us, to better understand the emergency en route. We receive information over that communication system, to coordinate our actions when we arrive, and to work together when we're at different types of incidents. And maybe most importantly, when we need to ask for help, that's our critical lifeline to get out. As a firefighter, younger firefighter, crawling through a building, one of the false ceilings fell down on my head. And as you might know, these ceilings are held up with wires. And so these wires entangled me as I was crawling through the floor, stuck in this building that was on fire. And my way out was two ways: my radio and my wire cutters that I keep handy close by. Every time I go into a fire, I go with the radio and my wire cutters. And I suspect when the police go into a call, they're going to have a radio and a gun. I'll keep my wire cutters for what I'm doing, but it's equally as important to have that radio, because that's how we get out. You might want to talk about the trestle fire too, because I think that was a significant load.
Sure. You know, as we all know, we had a major trestle fire here in town. And of course, we learned about this kind of the old-fashioned way, but we as a police department learned about the trestle fire because I got on the radio and asked if fire department had received a call regarding a fire somewhere close to Sherwood. And they said, well, sure, we've got a trestle fire. And as soon as that information was relayed, you know, that information was relayed obviously to all the police officers, but we also knew that TVFNR was going to be responding. And at that time, they were actually coming from another wildland fire up on top of Edie Road. And so we responded in a collaborative effort in a very, very rapid manner. And the only way that we could orchestrate the way that we all responded together and could make sure that our TVFNR partners were going to be safe as they responded, but then as they set up their equipment and really did a size up of what they actually had at the scene, was the two agencies, and really it became many agencies, talking with one another on the radio. And we use that radio daily in between our two disciplines. As a matter of fact, here in Washington County, we've made significant strides so that when we respond together, they will actually patch our radio channels together so that we can coordinate our response, so that particularly in situations that pose significant hazards to personal safety, that our fire folks, rescue, paramedics will be safer coming in because they don't wear the ballistic armor and they don't have weapons and those types of things. So it allows us to go in first to make sure that the scene is safe, but then we are able to radio back to them, as well as our emergency medical folks, who respond to the area to let them know that the area is safe. But that provides for very rapid service as opposed to doing it some other way. But it's a way for us to be able to communicate, but then actually coordinate and be very efficient and effective in providing public safety services to our community.
So let me tell you a little bit about the current system that they have right now. It's been in place in service since 1990. And as we're all familiar with, technology changes. So think about your cell phone you have right now, and think about the cell phone you had back in 1990. And if you had some money, you probably had what we called that brick phone, that beige with the long antenna. And if you were super cool, it came in a bag. So it was the bag phone. I had neither of those at the time, but that's the technology that we had in 1990 that we're currently using today. And the fact is we have more users now than ever before. 19 agencies, every city, schools, public works, hospitals, and even Lifelight use this system. It goes without saying that the demand has increased as well and the number of times we have to use this communications system. So WACA technicians, for all they've done an amazing job piecing these things together over the years, but key parts aren't made anymore. They can't get the parts they need to fix it. Technology is, of course, outdated, and buildings and towers that we use for the radio communication systems are not built to withstand the seismic activity that we know is going to happen at some point in the future. I want to talk a little bit about what the measure is.
Sure. So on May 17th, Washington County voters will be asked to consider funding a measure to replace and upgrade the emergency communication system. Washington County would issue a general obligation bond to pay for $77 million of improvements, to include converting the existing system to current technology, so going back to that 1990 point and bringing us ahead to where we are now and get us ready for the future, installing more towers, strengthening our facilities for the event of an earthquake, storm, and any other emergencies, replacement of 3,000 radios currently in use by first responders. And out of that 3,000 radios, that's the portable radios that we carry on our hips, the firefighters carry on a sling, but then also all of the car radios that go in all of the responding police vehicles and fire apparatus within Washington County. The projected rate is not expected to exceed 8 cents per thousand and 8 cents per $1,000 of assessed value over 21 years. So for a $255,000 house, it's not to exceed $20 per year, or for example, a $500,000 house wouldn't exceed $40 per year. And that's the estimate for 2016. So Sherwood, got a little note here about Sherwood is about 300,000 minimum or median. So that'd be somewhere in between. So we would like to thank you for your time and would be happy to answer any questions. There is a website available, which is kind of long, but it's wcemergencycommunications.blogspot.com. In the back of the room are some cards, which I've left, rack cards that you have one of each of those. And there is also a fact sheet, which have been the most frequently asked questions that we've been asked as the Speakers Bureau has been providing these presentations throughout Washington County.
And if someone can't find the website, since it's, long,
Yeah.
Are these available at a city desk somewhere?
So we have those at the Sherwood Police Department,
Okay.
and we're going to put them here at City Hall as well, so that
Fantastic.
we can have a supply available for the public.
And so for people who haven't visited it before, in City Hall, right upstairs, if you go all the way up the stairs and turn all the way around to your left, there is a table there, and we have lots and lots of information on all kinds of items, and that is where these will be. If you have any questions or want to grab one of these little flyers or a frequently asked question sheet, and then that will send you to the website because it's printed on the flyers.
Right.
Okay.
So I have a question. In the frequently asked questions, I was thumbing through. It says that several partner agencies rely on the system to communicate with first responders, include, and it says some public schools. So why isn't it all public schools? And which ones are not included?
That's a fantastic question, which is why we brought along technical experts to help us answer those great questions. Director.
I wish you would have asked an easier question.
Introduce yourself.
My name is Ron Policoni, Technical Services for Washington County 911. So the school systems have been slowly coming to a different realization about their own security as they've been moving forward. And there was an initial push back 2001 and 9/11, and there was a lot of heightened awareness, but no one really thought that we had a risk of schools. Of course, since that time, especially in recent years, things have changed. So Beaverton Schools within Washington County was the first ones that came to us and recognized that they had a potential risk, and they made a very substantial investment in not only putting radios in the schools so they could talk to first responders, but also changing the way they did security in general and inviting in sheriff's office, at least into the high schools, to provide services there. So where you have school resource officers, and I don't know if Sherwood, yes, good, all right, then you already have someone with a radio capability in the building, and more often than not, where that's deployed. There's also 1 or 2 radios typically in the office, so that office personnel have access to that. Don't know.
Not sure on that.
Okay, so typically we've found most of the schools where they have SROs, they typically have one because they want someone in the office to be able to get a hold of their resource officer if they need that. It also provides them the ability to take a radio into a safe area and be able to communicate out when they go into lockdown. Other schools are just coming into that level of awareness. City of Hillsborough is one right now that's just going through that process, and we're anticipating they would go through a change here in the not too distant future. I think the rest of the schools, I wasn't too sure about you guys, but I know Tiger and Tualatin have already got SROs, and they already have at least 1 radio in each of the schools. There's another element to that, which is the ability of the system to penetrate into the schools. And again, not knowing where you guys are as well as I probably should, a lot of schools have started adopting in-building amplification systems. That's most important when you're going into a lockdown scenario and you're going to a safe area. Oftentimes those safe areas are in the center or sometimes even below ground, in which case that tends to make coverage a little bit more difficult and penetration of our communication system. So these in-building amplification systems allow for coverage into those areas. So again, that's something a lot of schools have been adopting and implementing about the last 5 years.
And so is that a funding responsibility of the school district
Yes.
or the private school administration to provide
correct.
these systems?
That's correct.
Okay.
Because that we have had that conversation in my elementary school because nobody's cell phone works in the school. So the conversation has been, what are you going to do if there is a lockdown and teachers don't have any way to contact anybody or say who they are? And our principal has said that they have a way to contact you guys, but she hasn't produced anything to show us that that is the case.
There's probably a radio somewhere, but I'm not going to guarantee
Right.
that. With regards to what we're doing for schools going forward now, I mean, that's where we are today, present day. There's a new capability, and obviously what I'm about to offer is not going to necessarily solve your problem, which is that we're buying an application and a server that allows us to then use a smartphone. I don't call it a cell phone because it would only be a smartphone, the ability to communicate back with first responders. That'll take away the necessity of being able to have one brick radio sitting somewhere and having to run for it if you aren't close to it when you need it, but rather the teachers and administrative personnel would have the ability to pay a very small license fee for the application and then essentially talk on the system. In the case where you have an elementary school or any other school where you don't have that, we still would recommend in-building amplification. The amplification system that works on our radio system will also support cellular.
Yes, and they've talked about that as well. So.
So one of the things that I heard in 2 recent workshops that I attended at the PDA, one with the Chamber of Commerce on business emergency preparedness, and then the emergency preparedness for citizens. The gentleman that was leading the training kept talking about satellite phones. So when the big earthquake comes, satellite phones are going to be the phones that are going to be working properly. How does this new system stand up to the big earthquake that's going to happen down the road using the towers?
Good news is that's easier than answering the school questions.
Good. That's great to hear.
So what we've done in the past, and we continue with that?
You're doing great.
Oh, okay. What we've done in the past and what we continue to do is seismically upgrade our tower sites. And so the towers themselves and the facilities, which is just a small building, also have emergency power generation there. So first of all, they're hardened. Second of all, we put them in locations where the ground is less likely to shake. So we look for areas that are a little more seismically sound than others. Once that's in place, then we put 2 power systems in. One power system is just a commercial system. Another is a DC power system that is then backed up by an emergency generator. The new systems that we're putting in addition to just having a generator, the power system will then alternate between the generator and the DC power, giving us, when it's all said and done, about 4 weeks of runtime. And the reason we're increasing that from our 10 days, which our current systems are designed for, is when we talk to the emergency communications offices in the area, they're saying we have 2 issues when the big one comes. One will be water, and that's going to be obviously paramount for everyone. Second will be fuel, availability of fuel. So knowing that we'll have about a need to keep our system running for 3 to 4 weeks, we're designing the system around that strategy.
But it'll still be dependent on cellular.
No.
No?
Oh, no, not at all.
No. Okay.
Our system is completely independent of cellular.
Okay.
What there is a problem, going back to the earlier question, if the schools were using their cellular app for communications and the cell towers are impacted, which after a few days they will be, then the schools will obviously not have the ability to communicate with first responders. We're anticipating, however, if it gets that bad, that kids will probably not be in class, they'll probably be at home. So.
Thank you. Any other questions?
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, do we have any citizen comments? Okay. John Clary. Thank you. Just push that button there and state your name and address. You tell it turns green. Just tell it turns green. There we go.
Hello, my name is John Clary. I live at 18354 Southwest Colfelt Lane in Sherwood. We've been resident here since 2001. We're coming to kind of an advice to the council with some issues that we had with the last paving project that happened on Sunset Boulevard. Sunset Boulevard was opened before the repairs were completed, and we suffered quite a bit of damage to one of our vehicles as it came across that intersection. So I kind of need a quick statement just so I can remember what I wanted to say. But on June 8th at approximately 10 p.m., we came off of 99W onto Sunset Boulevard through a 2.5 to 4 inch drop that was left open by Bricks Paving. In contacting Bricks Paving, they've denied all that it was not their issue at all. It did cause over almost $4,000 damage to our car. Left wheel went off the drop. Basically, transmission hit the ground, shattered our transmission case, and dumped all the fluid before we hit Woodhaven Drive. So I towed the vehicle home that night. We did call Sherwood PD and asked them to come out and take a report. And they obviously did come out and they looked at that. They went and looked at the cut. I went back the next morning, took measurements, and it literally, when I did it, was deeper than my cell phone. And that was the drop that was left open on Sunset Boulevard. We contacted City Works, we contacted Bricks Paving, and they, wasn't our fault, wasn't our issue, contact their insurance company. We did notice after that every cut had a ramp on it like it is supposed to be done according to ODOT's rules and regulations. So they knew they were at fault. We have asked them for payment. We brought all the receipts together. They're refusing to pay. We have gone to a civil court case in Washington County. We have won that case, and they still refuse to pay what's owed to us. So for us, $4,000 is a lot of money. And so, not to mention I had an 18-year-old kid without his car who was very frustrated. That was probably worse than the payment. What we're asking is that the city council really review any bids by Bricks Paving and not award them any more work. They obviously don't care for the citizens here. They are not following regulations that they should be following when they do the work. And so we're asking that you not award them any more bids. And we do know they have one coming up. So just a concerned citizen, and really not very happy with them. The work they did was great. Their follow-up to their issues and their problems is not. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lori Swigley.
Good evening. I sat through the police department survey and just had a few comments that I wanted to relay to you. Lori Zwingli, 17391 Southwest Carlson Street. Sorry, got ahead of myself. And I wanted to talk to you in both my capacity as the chair of the Police Advisory Board and as just a citizen of Sherwood. I just wanted to point out that the Police Advisory Board was also honored to be a part of the interview process that Mr. Matthews and Matrix were involved in. He came and sat in on one of our meetings, introduced himself to us, spoke with us, gave us his information so that we could contact him if we had any questions or concerns. And then I actually interviewed with him as the chairperson for the advisory board. When I went into the interview, I went in with information from probably about 100, maybe more, of Sherwood citizens. The board members had gone around and spoken, done some outreach to the citizenry, and his information tracked with what we were finding as far as the information regarding the SRO. People were very interested in having an additional SRO once they realized how many we actually have and where he was able to spend his time. And then they were asking, what do other neighboring cities have? At that time, I had that information. I know their ratio is higher than ours. I don't have it with me now. I'm sure the chief does. He could probably fill you in on that. But that was one of the concerns that we identified as well. In addition, the secondary and tertiary concerns were speeding through the neighborhoods and drugs in our parks, especially Stella Olson was the one that was named. The 7.5-minute response time caught my attention. I was a little concerned about exactly what that meant, especially after Councilor Robinson's story with the response to the restraining order issue. I have my own story. It was outside of the 1 year window. It was from several years earlier. I had already mentioned it to the city council during the years that it happened, I believe. Had to do with my own son running away. I never did get to see an officer. I had an officer on the telephone, but I did not have an officer personally at my house taking my information because apparently there was a domestic violence issue going on somewhere else. So I was interested when I heard 7.5 minutes, whether that meant in person, by telephone, what was that statistic. So I hunted Mr. Matthews down in the hallway, and he said that it was an in-person response time, but he noted that he was going to be doing that scatter sheet that he discussed in here, and I would just like to know if that, or I would request that when he submits the scatter sheet, could that also be made public so that those of us who are interested could see that as well. And then finally, also as a member of the citizenry, but also maybe as a member of the Sherwood Police Foundation, I am aware the statistics for police officers and suicide rates are higher than they are for your general public. So if you are going to consider a 12-hour shift or any change in shifts, I would ask that you please also consider what it would do to the officers' mental health and morale, and just keep that in the mix as well. I don't know what it would do. I don't have the statistics. I don't have the studies. I know they're out there. I just wanted you to be aware of them and keep them in mind as you go through this decision-making process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other? Okay, no additional. City manager report?
Yes, Mayor and Council, I have two items briefly tonight. The first is a plug to the public. We have started accepting applications for our first ever Sherwood Citizens University. Applications are due by 5 o'clock on Friday, April 1st. We've received, I think, about 8 applications so far. We have room for up to 20 in the first set of classes. If you don't know what the Sherwood Citizens University is, it's a 6-week program of classes. It'll be on Monday nights for 3 hours, that basically anyone that wants to learn how their city government operates, kind of the nuts and bolts, this is your opportunity to spend some time with senior leadership and myself and learn more about how we operate within each department and the ability to ask questions. So this is something that a number of cities do. We're very excited about offering this. We will learn from our first one because there'll be some things that I'm sure people say, yeah, that was exactly what we were looking for, and then other things where people might say, you know, that's too much information or not the right information. And but I really want to encourage citizens that are interested in learning how their city operates to apply for the classes. So the information is online on our website. So that's one thing I wanted to mention tonight. The other is I will be spending all day tomorrow at the City of West Lynn in interviews, and I'm actually pretty excited about this because many of you know for 3 years we've had a shared intern recent graduate student intern with West Lynn, and this is a project that started really between the assistant city manager of West Lynn and myself 3 years ago. Now it's grown to 12 different organizations in the Portland metro area across 3 different counties, actually. We're interviewing 12 very talented students that are all recent graduates or soon to be recent graduates from around the country. So there's students from here in Oregon, but also from North Carolina and Southern California and Minnesota and North Dakota. It really has grown into a very fabulous program. And the interns will pick 3 out of the 12. And the interns will get a year of experience in 4 different organizations, which I think coming out of grad school, to the ability to work in 4 different organizations, different sizes. Folks can work for county government versus city government and kind of compare and contrast. It really is pretty exciting that we have developed this program. And it started here with West Lynn, and it's kind of become a national model. And it's been very supportive. Your council last year and previous councils have supported it financially. It's not a huge cost, but there is a cost to doing it. And it's worked out very well for us. So I'll be in West Lynn tomorrow for a full day of interviews with 12 very talented students from around the country, and we'll have a hard time picking 3, is my guess. So any questions on anything else for me or the few department directors that are here?
Staff? Or council, any questions of staff?
One of the projects that Mark Yeager, our intern from last year, worked on was putting together the Citizens University. So he's now working for the city of Lake Oswego and Wilsonville after spending 6 months here with us. So the work that they do actually comes to fruition in terms of programs, and it's pretty exciting. So
well, I want to thank you, Joe, for bringing this to council. I think it's a great idea. It's a great way for us to support students who are interested in getting involved in city work. You don't, when you ask a 3rd grader, you hear a lot of, okay, so what do you want to be? I want to be a teacher. I want to be a police officer. You don't hear, I want to be a city manager. So I think it's awesome that we have this program. They're not 3rd graders. These are student, college students that are interested in making a lifetime goal of serving cities. And I think that's fantastic. And I love that we're part of that. And I thank you, Joe, for being instrumental in bringing that to us, because I think that not only is it great for them, it has been fantastic for Sherwood. Like you said, it's a very nominal cost for a great work product. They work very hard and are fantastic. So thank you for that. And have a great time tomorrow. And I'm sure it will be hard to winnow the field. So thank you for that. I just got back from the National League of Cities conference that I was in DC, and it was a great conference. A big portion of the conference, the cities, the representatives from the cities, the mayors, and also other representatives from the cities meet with our federal congresswomen and congressmen and senators and advocate for things that are important to Oregon. And we do it through the League of Oregon Cities. They organize it. And so we met with all of the legislative offices. We were able to meet with both Senator Merkley and Senator Wyden. And it's very important for our voices to be heard at the federal level to obtain federal funds and federal support of federal programs. One of the things that we were advocating for loudly that we hadn't got a full commitment from one of our senators on were tax-free municipal bonds. So we traveled around in a pack. I took some photos that are on Facebook of all of us in the elevator that are pretty funny because we're all packed in there. And we talked to our senators and our congresspeople about supporting the continuation of tax-free municipal bonds so that cities can be competitive in the open market and get that funding so that we can do great things for our cities. We had gotten the commitment from Senator Merkley, but we hadn't quite gotten it from Senator Wyden yet. And when we were there, he gave us his commitment. So that was huge and instrumental. Tom, can you tell us in a year, what is it that we save by having, just an estimate, by having these tax-free municipal bonds in a program? It's a pretty significant thing.
Yeah, well, I couldn't certainly give you an exact number, but we certainly, whenever we're doing large projects, especially in our most recent history, the water project, I think we have, don't quote me on this, I think we roughly have like $22 million worth of bonds out just on our water project. And the ability for us to be able to get tax exempt bonds through the system saves a lot of money. I couldn't tell you exactly what it is, but I know your effective rate would go up by at least a point, if not two, maybe even more, just to pay for those taxes. So it certainly lowers our operating costs and our ability to do projects and our debt service that we have to pay on projects. A lot of times we just have needs for capital projects. Same thing for what the Washington County or WCCA was talking about. WACA was talking about tonight, that they would go out for bonds, and if they had to pay a higher interest rate, it would either drive what they could provide down or drive the cost up to citizens. So
right, and that would be direct. I mean, that would be directly to the taxpayers. It would go right back to our citizens to have to pay that gap. And so this is important. It's an important thing for us as the League and the League of Oregon City Mayors to go and to advocate for us. And so I was proud to be able to represent not only Sherwood, but also representing Washington County and Oregon to our federal representation. So thank you for that. I also, when I got back from the trip, I attended the annual Egg Hunt for Hope for Geneva Rose. We received the very unfortunate news that Geneva passed away the day before our event. So that was expected, but very sad. And so I would just like to give my condolences to the Rose family. The event, I think there was some pathetic fallacy because it was torrential downpour, but we were not to be dissuaded, and the citizens of Sherwood came out in droves anyway, because we don't let a little rain stop us from supporting each other in our time of need. So thank you to all who attended, and thank you to everyone who went online and also contributed in that way and worked very hard. And thank you to the team for working very hard on that. Councillor King?
Just want to mention the big St. Patrick's Day celebration with Clancy's that Sherwood Main Street's been working with, and the weather is going to be excellent. So, yes.
I brought it home. It was 80 in DC.
Okay. That's all I got.
Councillor Robinson?
Yes. I just wanted to report. Last Thursday, I attended the West Side Economic Alliance breakfast meeting. So I started with marijuana in the morning, and I ended the day with marijuana because we also had in the evening a Planning Commission meeting workshop. And again, we had the roundtables, and we had maps to look at, and categories of producers and wholesalers and retailers, and we were fortunate enough to have the owner of the medical marijuana facility going in at our nighttime meeting. At the morning meeting, we actually had a very knowledgeable and very educated CEO of a business who is operating a marijuana facility here in Oregon and expanding, obviously. Learned quite a bit from that. Our representative for Senator Wyden's office was also there, and he, I think, is working on, in the future, some scenario that would allow banks to take in the money from these facilities. And so some of the main issues on security are potentially being discussed and maybe will be resolved soon or in the future. And so our discussion was really good. So far, I think the consensus at our Planning Commission meeting was that we wanted to have those facilities in the industrial areas like we have decided to do in medical marijuana facilities. And again, the recreational facility is being discussed in making regulations in the event that the measure submitted for the voters in November doesn't pass. If that ban on those facilities passes, then the regulations won't go into place, obviously. And we will, and then there's a second one to tax so that we can have some revenue for our police force in the event that we do allow those facilities in Sherwood. And very interesting process. I only encourage you all to get online in our city website. We have a survey going on right now, and we welcome your input into where you think, as a citizen, the recreational marijuana facility should go if, in fact, they're here, depending on the vote in November. But we really, really would love your input. And you have a voice, so it really helps us make some decisions at the Planning Commission level that then comes before the council. So please get involved in that and let us know your thoughts. Thanks.
And Councilor Robertson, I'm going to clarify. You meant you started talking about marijuana and ended with talking about marijuana,
Absolutely.
Right? Okay, just want to make sure.
You can plead the fifth.
I want to make sure that we are quoted correctly in the Gazette. All right. Councilor Harris.
So we have not had a library board meeting since our last council meeting, but I wanted to let everybody know that there is a 6-word story contest going on. This is a really fun contest. You have to be able to tell a story in 6 words or only. And last year's contest was really fun. I was a judge, and it was very fun. And I know that Councilor Kuiper and her husband participated.
So that's why I did not win. You were on the board judging.
No.
We submitted several stories.
Oh, heavens.
I didn't have any names for the ones that I chose, but it is a really fun contest, and I sat and tried to come up with 6-word stories, and I'm terrible at it. So I'm putting that in the category with puzzles, 2 things I should not be doing. There's also a poetry slam, March 25th at 7 p.m. I have not gone, so I'm thinking I might come to this one, but I've heard they're a lot of fun. And we the library was able to purchase the microphone and sound system for that through a grant that we approved through the city. So it's a pretty exciting and fun thing for the after-school crowd to go listen to and participate in. And also the other unique thing coming up for the library on Saturday is a comic book workshop, which I think is a pretty cool thing for a lot of kids. If you're into comic books or even graphic novels, you can go to the workshop on Saturday here at the library at 2:30 and learn to make your own comic books, which I think would be pretty awesome for especially that probably preteen through teen age section of kids, girls and boys. My daughter loves them. So, and just a reminder, May 19th is the suicide prevention session that we're having here at the library from 5:30 to 7:30. And that is I guess a class, you could say a seminar, where you'll be able to learn ways to recognize a mental health emergency in your surroundings, your community, your family, and also how to get the person who's struggling with that to the help that they need to manage their situation at that time, and also action plans that can ultimately save lives through learning the signs and symptoms and how to get them to somebody who is better capable of managing that issue than maybe you might feel you are. And again, that's May 19th. It's quite a ways off, but I think it's worth saving the date for and coming to that. This will be the second one we've had in our community, and as somebody who has kind of taken this on myself, because we have some mental health issues in my family, and it's important to me. And speaking with our Washington County representative in the mental health area, she is so, I guess, thrilled that this is coming from being pushed through on a city initiative and not smaller health initiatives. She said Sherwood is really the only city she's had that is bringing this forward and bringing it to its citizens on the level that we're doing it. So I'm pretty proud of our town and our proactive work in this area. So, and with the arts, the only thing I really want to stress is our Putting on the Ritz Gala that's coming up on April 2nd. And it is going to have live music and prize baskets, which several people on the gala committee have been working diligently to fill up. The baskets are going to range in the, hopefully we're hoping for $500 range, so you can get a ticket for a really good price and get some pretty amazing things in there. We're looking for a local basket, and we've already got a ton of local businesses that have more than willingly offered up their services and dinners and things like that. And our committee for the gala is really working hard to put these baskets together in a very thoughtful way. So you might get a night at the Allison coupled with wine tasting, coupled with a massage or dinner in the Newburgh area. So they're not just thrown together. There's a lot of thought going into these baskets, and it's really our primary way of raising funds for our Friends of the Center, which is kicking off this event is kicking that off. There's also going to be a wine wall, excuse me. I don't know a lot about wine walls because I don't drink wine, but I hear it's quite entertaining and fun. So that is, again, coming up. Putting on the Ritz is the theme, and so we hope you'll dress to the nines and wear your favorite flapper dress and suits and come dance with the jazz band that's going to be there playing. And the one thing on a personal note I wanted to say thank you to Maggie and the Center for the Arts. My kids go to Edie Ridge, and we had bingo night, and the night before bingo night, the committee was going over the prizes for the bingo, and the chairperson said, oh, and we have this gift certificate for a family membership to the Portland Aquarium. And I said, that closed. It's not there. And it was one of their big prizes. And so they're like, what? And I said, well, let me see. I might have a connection. I got in the car and I drove to the center, and I had to drop off a donation anyway. I said, would you guys at all be willing to donate something for this? And they graciously donated a family pass for the family matinees for next season. And you never know, how that will go over. And so I'm like, here's what I have. And the committee was super excited about it. And it was one of those situations where you can choose where you want to put your tickets for the raffle. And there was a $50 cash prize. There was a 1-hour massage. There was the Center for the Arts one, and a $20 or $50 gift card for somewhere. the one for the Center for the Arts was halfway full, and the other ones had smithereens. The $50 one cash, that one was pretty close. It was a toss-up between those two. But the woman who won, oh my gosh, you would have thought she won the lottery. She screamed, she threw her hands up, she went running down the aisle. I was like, perfect. So it was really great, and I wanted to thank you guys for donating that because it was a big, big hit. And I think they did it in such a way that will encourage the person coming to bring family and friends, and so it was really great.
Awesome. Thank you. Counselor Henderson?
Try to be brief. I attended on Councilor Kuiper's behalf to the Parks Board on Monday, and just near and dear to my heart, they had an update on the Cedar Creek Trail, which is, coming along. It's about 2 months behind currently due to some technical design issues, and the property that's for sale over near the senior center is obviously affecting design. And but nevertheless, moving forward, Cedar Creek Trail is a multimodal trail that'll go from start at Stella Olson Park. Well, starts in the city and then eventually will wind up all the way out at the refuge. That's a $5 million grant we got from Metro about 5 years ago, I think. And looking forward to phase 1 of Cedar Creek Trail. We also talked a lot about the dog park, hoping that it will be reopened soon. And we have the Police Advisory Board this Thursday, so if anybody's interested in coming and giving feedback, that's at 7 o'clock at the PD. The high school students and staff are rehearsing for Guys and Dolls, which opens next month, I think on the 21st. Thank you. Which is a Thursday, so should be a great show. And wanted to acknowledge the police department and their emergency preparedness class, which they had last week. And you had how many attendants? 85 people came to prepare or to learn to prepare, which I think is maybe the best turnout we've ever had for event like that in the 18 years that I've lived here. So I didn't attend myself because I felt like I didn't want to take up the chair, but I had no idea that there would be 85 people who would come. So kudos to staff, and obviously you need to schedule another one sooner rather than later, if you don't mind my asking. And in line with some of the announcements that Council President Harris talked about, today is the 1-year anniversary of Justice Cole's death. And for those people who may not be familiar with that, he was a 10-year-old boy who passed away in our community a year ago, and his family asked if we would note that, and wanted to express appreciation for the efforts that our community has gone forward to educate and empower people to hopefully reduce those events from happening in our community. We had a suicide 2 weeks ago, an adult in our community, so while they continue, it's not something obviously that we advertise, but I'm grateful for the efforts to bring that information to our community so that people can learn and pass along that information when they need to. And that's all I have.
So I too wanted to thank the police department and Captain Daniel for arranging the preparedness workshop. It was great. The guy did a really good job. And having an opportunity hearing for the citizens of Sherwood, and then previous that week hearing him talk to the Chamber of Commerce about business preparedness, it's eye-opening. And each time attending one of those types of workshops, learn something new. So it was very valuable. So thank you for allowing that to happen. I wanted to also provide an update for the ACON for Hope. Mayor Clark already mentioned it. A great turnout, and $38,000 was raised for the Rose family. So the 2 little girls will receive those funds. I wanted to just, again, announce a couple of upcoming events. So Neighbor to Neighbor Day on May 7th, which is an opportunity to serve the local community, the local seniors, by providing some much needed work around the homes, window washing, gutter cleaning, yard cleaning. There's also May 7th. I did say it right this time, right? I think I said it March 7th last time. Trash Palooza is coming up on April 23rd, so that registration is open as well. I've seen a lot of talk about Baja Fresh. It is open, and the grand opening will be Friday at 4 o'clock with a ribbon cutting at 4:30 if you wish to attend that. And then the annual tree sale for the Rotary Club of Sherwood is actually taking place here in a few weeks. It starts on April 16th. And will go till May 8th. So for those of you who want to continue to improve the environment by planting trees, actually I think they're $13 now. $13 tree is a great deal, and you can help contribute to the environment. That's all I have.
Same location.
That's okay.
Same location, yeah.
Okay, just a couple of things. I had the opportunity to do a citizen ride-along with Officer Stan Smith on Friday evening. Around from 7 to about 11. Oh, there we go. From 7 to 11. And any citizen can do this. So it's not just for city councilors or, officials, city staff. It's for anyone. And I would encourage anyone who has an interest in traffic patrol on just what our police department does to apply. It's very simple. They give you a background check, you complete the form, and then Chief Growth or Captain Hanlon or Captain Daniel will coordinate it, and voila, you end up in a police car for 3 or 4 hours in the front seat. Not in the back seat, in the front seat. But I learned quite a bit, and I learned from Officer Smith that you never say it's a quiet night, because then things really start to happen. But it was a quiet night, but it did give me an opportunity to have some great conversations that went over, under, around the bout, and back again, and it was quite fun. And I learned a lot about the Red Flex device, which is at the intersection of 99 and Tualatin Sherwood Road, and what happens when you do not stop at the slave light, which is the light that you make a right turn on from Highway 99 onto Tualatin Sherwood Road. And what happens when you get that flash of light that takes your photograph? They collect all that data and they send it down to Arizona, where someone sifts through that information and decides what is applicable to be sending back to someone like Officer Smith and a couple of other officers, I think, that are designated to review this material. And he has a queue of about 20 to 30 violations, potential violations. Actually, they're potential violations. And he pulls those up, and then he takes another screen and he pulls up the driver's license, and he compares the two and decides whether or not that person looks like the person on the photograph, and the driver's license looks like the person that had their photograph taken. And then you hit the submit button, and guess what happens? A couple weeks later, you get a little ticket in the mail. But it was very interesting, and I learned a lot. So I encourage anybody, again, to take a ride along. I think they can accommodate almost everyone, so I encourage people to do that. I plan to do it again because I learned a lot, and I'm definitely going to try to bug and talk some other officers here. I learned a lot. Let's see. Oh, okay. So fun stuff. The Robin Hood Festival Association, I don't know how many people realize this, but the Robin Hood Festival is run by literally less than 10 people. I am not kidding. It's the same individuals over and over again, and they've been doing it for years. Captain Daniel has been a wonderful advocate or a liaison with the police department. Now Captain Hanlon has that title, and we have been indoctrinating him into all the goings-on of the Robin Hood Festival Association. But there's really only 10 or so people that run this festival. Well, this year we are actually putting together the float for the Rose Festival Parade. Thank you, Mayor Clark. We have a title to defend. We got a blue ribbon last year, and now we're working on another float. And the Robin Hood Festival Association is working on this mini float. We have an actual artist that's designing it. We're going to be getting some art students to help do that work. I think it's going to be very exciting. It will be a lot of work, but I think it'll be a really great time. The community, especially the high school students and the artists, can gather around and work on that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that happen. And then one other item, I do want to thank Joe for moving forward with the Citizens University. It's something that was near and dear to my heart when I was campaigning for election, because the more I interacted with people, the more I realized that people have ideas about how things operate, and they have presuppositions about how cities work. And everyone has a little bit of information, but nobody has all the information. And when you have a little bit of information, you couple that with sort of your idea of how things should be, and that's what you move forward with. And that's not always the case. And so I was very happy and honored to work with Mark Yeager, who was the young intern who put together the initial plan for the Citizens University. There's a lot of space open, so I would encourage anybody who has an interest. I think we have a couple spaces open, especially for high school students, to come and learn about how the city works and gain some insights on how that is. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Kuiper. I believe that we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.